Hi, welcome to Gene Rants. I'm Gene, and today I will be talking about an idea that I have had for a while. I've been meaning to do a vlog on it. Somebody beat me to it. And well, actually, a few people beat me to it. Not getting wide distribution, but it's an idea. It's a great idea. And that's what I want to share today. Now, I'm going to be taking you to an article that pretty much explains the idea. It has to do with the United Nations, as you saw in the title. Well, that we should get the heck out of the United Nations. But this and why, I'll have my own comments. But first, we're going to go to an article. Let me put up the headline first, because put up the headline. The UN is a stage for hypocrisy. It's time for democracies to exit. Now, I just have to put a brief just note here. The gentleman in the photo that goes with the article that I just showed you, the headline, that's Yair Lapid. Yair Lapid, he is an Israeli politician. He's actually the head of the opposition to Benjamin Netanyahu in the legislature. It's called the Knesset. It's the Israeli parliament. So he has, well, as you may have noted, Israel had. This is what prompted the articles. Is that the article is on the Fox website. I linked to it if you want to read the whole article. But what prompted the article was Israel's treatment at the UN. Whether, whatever you think of Israel, is it not odd that there have been more anti-Israel resolutions passed in the United Nations just on Israel than against all other nations in the combined? That would include North Korea, Iran, China. So the whole rogues gallery. They don't get nearly the opprobrium that Israel gets. So that prompted the article. But he raised an important idea. He then goes from the specific to the general with an idea that I think is a great idea, which is, well, it's a question. What are we doing in the United States? What are we in Europe or any democracies? What are we doing in the United Nations? So let me just give you some quotes from the article, and then I'll have some comments. The idea for the United Nations was born out of a desire by democratic, that's the important word, democratic nations to promote liberal, small l, that's another important word, liberal values and human rights. Its foundation is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 21 declares that the organization, that the United Nations, will advance democracy around the world so that everywhere there will be periodic and genuine elections, guaranteeing the free expression of the will of the people. And this is the important part. We'll get to it. Only lacks 5 words, or you won't be admitted. A mix of post-colonial guilt and ideological laziness led the UN to admit more and more non-democratic states. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit of the UN's 193 member states, only 25 out of 193 are full democracies, with another 46 flawed democracies. And then you could imagine what the remainder are, dictatorships, we'll just say not anything close to a democracy. In other words, in every vote, on every budget, in every resolution, non-democracies hold an automatic majority, and they use it without the slightest qualm. That's how Iran sat on the UN Commission on the Status of Women in 2022 as Mahsa Amini was murdered. Mahsa Amini, if you don't remember or not familiar with who she was, and was because she's dead, a young woman, I think she was 22 years old, and as you probably know, there is a head covering law in Iran. Women are required to cover a hair covering law, required to cover their hair. They wear scarves over their hair. They don't cover their hair completely, though, by the way. So apparently Mahsa Amini was, her scarf was not covering enough of her hair to satisfy the morality police. They actually have a morality police in Iran. And so what did they do? They beat her to death. They beat her to death. and that's in Iran. And Iran, in 2022, sat on the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. It's so ridiculous. I shouldn't laugh, but it's hard not to. Syria chaired the conference on disarmament in 2018 while gassing its own citizens. North Korea presided over that very same disarmament conference in 2022 while openly brandishing nuclear weapons and firing ballistic missiles at Japan. China currently serves on the Human Rights Council, apparently because it cares so deeply about human rights. This isn't just absurd, it's an expensive absurdity. The total expenditure of the UN system tops $70 billion, more than the entire annual budgets of Luxembourg, Estonia, Malta, and Cyprus combined. Most of that money comes from the US, that would be us, and the European Union, and it disappears into a black hole of unaccountability. If you don't know, the accounting system is, God, I feel sorry for anybody who has to audit the United Nations, but apparently no one is. So the money disappears into a black hole of unaccountability. One thing is clear, it isn't being used to advance the inherent dignity and equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family as the foundations of freedom, justice, and peace in the world, as the UN Charter promises. So, this is the important part. So, what do we need? We need a UN of democracies. I suggest this would be Lapid, calling it DAWN, the Democratic Alliance for World Nations, though perhaps something less poetic would do. My own idea was LAUD, L-O-D, League of Democracies. Anyways, we don't need to reinvent its goals. We just need to clarify the terms of membership. A commitment, in other words, just the same rules, the same requirements as joining the United Nations, except that there would have to be a commitment to democracy, a willingness to confront authoritarian leaders who make a mockery of everything we hold sacred, and a focus on fighting the great threats of our age: terrorism, religious fanaticism, fake news, nuclear weapons in the hands of reckless regimes, and the abuse of democratic mechanisms by those who despise democracy itself, which is the point. Those who despise democracy, they are the majority of the United Nations. Now, just one slight quibble. I have to make a little aside here, because one of the things Lapid mentioned, you have to keep in mind, Netanyahu, his party, the majority, they are the conservative right-wing party. So Lapid is on the left. So he says he's on this thing that we need to combat fake news. I just would agree with that. We have a First Amendment. People have the right to say what they're going to say. And if you libel somebody, you can sue, or slander, they can be sued for libel or slander. Otherwise, the antidote to fake news is just to publish real news, which is what the internet does. That's why another aside, why the mainstream media, all these liberal stations, can't get away with the fake news that they used to, because there are all these liberal websites and media, and Fox News, on which web page this article I'm quoting from appeared. I guess I don't think you're going to see it on the CNN web page, but so that's how you combat fake news. But other than that, the rest of it is a great idea. I don't understand, well, especially now that we have Donald Trump, as much as I disagree with him on so many things, as you know, if you've been following his vlogs, he does make some bold moves, and this would be a great one. Get the heck out of the United Nations. Start a new organization to which only democracies would be admitted. And if we have to participate in the United Nations, then I would say that just create this separate organization, DAWN or whatever you want to call it, and then a representative of all the 25 democracies, or however many members there would be, would take what would replace the United States, would take one seat on the Security Council. It would replace presumably us and the British and the French. So that would be nice, and then let them vote. And what would be really good, I mean, this is, Lapid doesn't mention it, but it would be really fantastic, because we would have this separate organization that would promote democracy, free elections, so on and so forth, all the things that the UN Charter says the UN is supposed to do, but doesn't. And then, but so you would have an independent organization pursuing those ends, but also one seat on the Security Council to veto all the important things that the United Nations would try to do. I mean, that would be a twofer for me. That would be fantastic. And you can, if the United Nations doesn't want to do that, well, we could say, you remember, the United Nations is in New York. It's in New York. So, okay, well, you're evicted. Bye-bye, bye-bye. Go, build a new building in Brussels, where the European Union is headquartered. So that would be perfectly appropriate for them. Or you could also say, well, okay, well, we're evicting you, we're moving you to Harlem. Build your, let all these embassies and United Nations members be in a poor area, which I know because I lived in Harlem for like 11 years. Put the United Nations there. And because they want to help the poor, right? They want to help poor people all over the world. So that's a great way to help them, because of all the money they would be spent there, the construction jobs, all the restaurants that would open around the United Nations in Harlem. So that would be maybe even a better idea. So they would still be in the United, maybe do that anyways, and they would still be in the United States. And then the old UN building, well, if we're talking about a new organization of just 25 democracies, such an organization would not need that enormous United Nations. And it is enormous. I've walked by it several times when I was living in New York. And I can tell you, it's in the part of town called Midtown East. It's like the eastern, Midtown would be the business district where Fox News actually is located, 6th Avenue. So this is all the way by the East River. But that is a fantastic turn the United Nations building into condos. And you would have, I happen to be a licensed real estate broker in New York. And I can tell you, my specialty is not residential. My specialty is retail. So I can tell you that, got a penthouse on the top of the United Nations overlooking the East River. I can't imagine what that would sell for, because that, you see, most New York residential buildings, they are skyscrapers. And they are, I mean, some of those, there are 15,000 square foot penthouses in New York, and they I think the most expensive one, over $100 million, $150 million. So imagine one, because the United Nations is very, very, very wide. Imagine a penthouse. You could have several, but imagine one penthouse that had that whole floor if somebody wanted to buy it. And you can do that. You can buy, you can have several separate apartments, and somebody could buy one penthouse and then combine it with, buy more than one and combine them. They do that in New York. But my specialty was retail, and I can tell you, just to serve the people that would live in that building, you'd have retail, never mind all the surrounding population, but you'd have retail stores. I could see multi-level, above ground and below ground. You would need a supermarket for one thing. That would be below ground. That's what happens in New York. The real estate is so expensive. The rents are so expensive that a lot of, there's a Whole Foods on 14th Street that is first and second floor, and they have a basement. But the Whole Foods in the Time Warner Center, which is kind of Midtown West, you would call it, just bordering what you would call the Upper West Side, that's entirely underground. And it's enormous, and I've been there. Enormous and enormously expensive. Anyways, that's getting off on another track. But the property taxes that New York City would collect from condos on the Because I don't know if New York City collects anything. I mean, I'd have to look it up, and I'm not going to bother. It's not worth it. But the property taxes from all those separate condos would be it would be astronomical. It would be really amazing. But the main thing is getting back to and I'll end on this. The main point is, if I had my way, we would not contribute not one more red cent to the United Nations, and I would get out. I would form a new organization, and it would be open only to democracies, only to democracies. And that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. Your comments, I would love to hear your thoughts on this idea, and you can put those comments, if you have any, comment section below the video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. Subscribe. I can always use more. God knows I could use more subscribe. Well, let me check. Yeah, he knows. He knows I could use more subscribers. But most of all, come back and see me again. I'd love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.